Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas Remarks with your host and co-host. I'm Joe Staszak. Steve Kallas is right there. This is Benjamin Staszak. I don't know why they're invading me right now, but we got to talk a little baseball, my friend, before we get into the NFL Week 8 that was. I basically just went to bed. I stayed up the whole way. Not that I even really wanted to. I kind of had a feeling like, all right, this was one of those games. And I don't have any skin in the game except I picked the Blue Jays, and no big deal. But it was one of those. Maybe I want. It's one of those where were you when this happened? I remember exactly where I was when Kirk Gibson hit that home run in '88, and it's cool to be part of it. It was an 18 inning epic game last night, and we were texting back and forth. The Dodgers pulled out. Why? Because they have guys like Freddie Freeman. I believe he hit a walk-off grand slam last year in the World Series.
And was the
Otani had two home
MVP.
runs, and
He
then they
was the MVP.
walked him four times with nobody on base. I think he reached base nine times last night in a World Series. It must be a record. It's ridiculous. And I agree with what Toronto did. No, I'm sorry. I know you're putting the winning run on first base. I get all that. Do you really want to take your chances with a guy who just hit like seven straight extra base hits and he's just bombing away? So I thought they did the right thing, but it was just an epic game.
They did do the right thing, and they were even the manager was pretty cool. Was questioned afterwards. Did you think about walking him in the seventh inning when he hit the home run to tie the game? I don't know what to say about Otani. I think he might wind up being the second greatest baseball player of all time. We'll talk about
He's
that.
pitching today in a few hours.
No, you gotta give him credit. I was looking at Babe Ruth's records. He was an incredible pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, as you know, 3-0 in the World Series. I don't want to compare them right now. What Otani did was incredible. What he did with the three home runs, not in the World Series game, but he had two home runs and two doubles and five walks, four intentionally. And the other one, we used to call it an intentional, unintentional walk or an
Sure.
unintentional,
You
intentional
pitch
walk.
around.
They pitched to him, but they threw four balls nowhere close to the plate. But just a few things in that game. It was like the Dodgers, well, the Blue Jays left 19 guys on base, Joe, but the Dodgers left 18 guys on
Oh
base.
wow. Well, yeah, 18 innings. Yeah, you're gonna leave some folks
And
on base.
and the Dodgers, I mean, once it went into extra innings, you had to like the Blue Jays because the Dodgers, all we've heard all year is how horrific their
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 bullpen
relievers
is, and
are.
Blue Jays couldn't get it
And
going.
the two guys I was focusing on is Sheehan early on. Now, why? I don't know if anybody interviewed the third base coach, but when Lucas hit that ball down the line, and I forget who, oh, the pinch runner, but he was a pinch runner. He didn't have a lot of speed,
He did,
and
and
he
Guerrero was
got
up next.
he got thrown out by what? 10 feet, 12 feet. So I'm not sure why you're sending the guy like that with your best hitter who is arguably the best hitter in the playoffs, maybe Otani ahead of him, but certainly the best hitter for the Blue Jays. And he's on deck, and all he needs is a single to win the game. Now, if you thought it was going to be like again, you'd have to interview the third base coach. We've talked for years. Being the third base coach is to me a lot tougher than being the manager
I
because you
can
got
tell
to
you
make
why. They're hoping that the Dodgers don't make the relay perfectly. You know what I mean? Like something happens.
right. But you know what? Even if that throw was off a little, he still would have been
He
out because
was he
catcher
did
had
not
10
look
feet to
fast. That's
catcher
correct.
had 10 feet to play with. So, but what you saw, and I'm not saying this was leading up to the win, but what you saw in the 14th inning, Will Smith to the warning track. In the 15th inning, Freeman hit his second shot to the warning track. I mean, he was up in some key spots and didn't get the job done. Obviously, he's the star who hit the winning home run, but he was up in the 15th and hit one to the left center field,
At
almost
104
off the
miles an
wall.
hour, it left his back.
And then Teoscar Hernandez did the same thing in the 16th. You're watching it, and every time everybody thought the game was going to
Game
end,
was over. Yeah.
they kept showing Roberts, and he was going. Um, but you got to give really to me, the game is won by the Dodgers relievers because the game was tied when Otani hit that home run in the seventh inning. I think when Bichette drove in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and he made that incredible slide with his hand at home.
Amazing.
That was 5-5. I think that was the top of the seventh. So the bullpen shut out the Blue Jays for 11 innings.
They did,
11 innings. They can't pitch.
including one Clayton Kershaw.
Well, look,
They helped them out. They helped
I
them
was
out.
texting, I was texting you and Johnny, I wouldn't put Clayton Kershaw in if I was them. And he went to three and came into pitch to one lefty, went to 3-2 with the bases loaded. And the next pitch was down and almost in the dirt. But you got the guy to swing and hit a little ground ball that he almost beat out, right? It was a dribbler,
The dribbler to
dribbler
second,
up
the
the
guy
first.
scooped it with his glove and flipped it to Freeman.
Yeah, I think that was Lucas who hit it. But look, you talk about can you take a pitch that's too close? You don't want to take a pitch that's too close in a big game like that. But this wasn't close.
No, I thought there were two pitches before that where he fouled off that were close enough. I also thought one of them was about ball four, but that last pitch was in the dirt.
Yeah, so I'll say it again. Now imagine what would happen. What would you and me be talking about if Clayton Kershaw walked in the winning run in that, and then the Blue Jays go on to win the World Series? They still might, don't get me
We
wrong, but the
fully,
Dodgers, this is the kind of thing.
I didn't think he was going to get out of that. I thought he was either going to walk him or someone was going to rip it. Me and you, our thoughts on Clayton Kershaw in the postseason. Not that I root for that, but I
Right.
was kidding. You said, who's warming up for the Dodgers? I was like, Kershaw. And you're like, I was like kidding. You're like, no, he really was.
It really was.
I was like, oh man, I didn't know that because I was doing other things. I
The other guy to mention is Will Klein, who has not pitched more than 2 innings. He said he looked up on the pitches board. He looked up on the pitches board out in the bullpen, and his name was the only one left. So he came into pitch. He hadn't pitched more than 2 innings all year. He hadn't thrown more than 36 pitches all year. He throws four shutout innings, gets the win, throws 72 pitches. So you got to give him a lot of credit. And again, everybody in between. I mean, it really was incredible when you have guys with lineups like the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, and you go 11 innings without scoring a run after going 5-5 in the first seven.
amazing.
I
That's how
mean,
you win. That's how you
that is
find ways to
amazing.
win. And then of course your star hits a home run in the 18th inning.
Yeah, but I do think there was some terrible running. The biggest one to me was they put in a pinch runner. I don't know, was it for Kirk? They put in a pinch runner, David Schneider, but he didn't look to me like a speed burner. He was replacing a guy who couldn't run. And I'll say it again, the ball goes down the line. You know that's a double. He's on first, and he gets thrown out by at least 10 feet, maybe more. So I don't know. I'd rather talk to the third base coach, especially as you just said before, with your best hitter up next.
Vlad Guerrero. We should mention that George Springer left the game in the seventh inning. It looked like he might have pulled an oblique on a swing. I don't know what
Big loss. Big
big
loss this
loss.
game. He would have been up 4 or 5 times more.
Right. Exactly. In those spots, I'll take my shot with George Springer.
Yeah. So I found it to be just a fascinating game, forever game. 6 hours, 37 minutes.
Yeah, it was epic. So
And
they
I know we're
beat
going to
you
go in a
2-1.
minute. We're going to go football, but you
Yeah,
almost feel
and
bad
they're
for if you're a baseball fan at all. You almost feel bad for the football game yesterday because it just kind of.
you know what? I was looking forward to watching both flipping around. I barely caught any of the Commanders Chiefs game, but I will tell you this: Patrick Mahomes threw for 1 yard short of 300. They look pretty buttoned up. The Chiefs look.
Well,
I know Marcus Mariota was playing for the Commanders and whatnot, but they look pretty decent.
yeah, I just want to go back briefly. Game two, Yamamoto throws another complete game, and they're going to have to face him again. And oh, by the way, at the very end, 17th or 18th inning, Yamamoto was warming up because I don't think they thought
Yes.
Will Klein could go 4 innings, but he pitched great. And game one, of course, Toronto just slaughtered the Dodgers 11-2, I think, 11-4. I'm sorry. And Ohtani hit a home run in that game. Meaningless, but still, it's a World Series homer, and you know what I think of those things. And
Yeah.
no, and then again, game two, Yamamoto, Will Smith, and Max Muncy hit solo shots. And, that was about it. They had an interesting stat that I'll just go through very quickly. Most consecutive batters retired to end a postseason game. They said in MLB history, and then they listed 4 games in the World Series. So I don't know if maybe that's the truth, but Yamamoto retired the last 20 guys he faced. Think about that. That's just about 7 innings. He tied Dutch Leonard in the 1915 World Series, who retired the last 20 games. And then you'll know this name, Grover Cleveland Alexander in 1926 against the Yankees, retired the last 21 games. Of course, that's the World Series where Grover Cleveland in Game 7 came in. I think it was Game 7, and Babe Ruth got thrown out stealing to end the
And
World
the World
Series.
Series, wow.
Although maybe Otani got thrown out stealing
He
last
did.
night.
I thought first of all his lead was like, it looked like it was like 20 feet. And you said, should he steal? And I was about to say, yeah, probably. It looked like he stole like 50 bases last year. I don't know how many he stole this year, but he came off the bag and it
Yeah,
happened.
I actually saw this year is 20 for 26, which is good, but it's not you're going to make it. And he did make it, but this is the new play now where you just keep the tag on him, tag on him, tag on him. And when both his feet are off the base for an eighth of a second, you're out. And that's what happened to Otani. He was in, but then his foot came off the base. And
The
and he
game
was
had
out.
like everything. The game was it had a lot of stuff going on in that game last night.
Yeah, you could analyze it for a week, but
Right. But hey, they got to play again. That's why baseball is baseball. They got to play today.
yeah, I think we might be the only guys that talk about Clayton Kershaw throwing ball four. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Oh,
again, when he
I
came
didn't read
in,
anything yet, but no, I mean that was yeah, he got bailed out there.
you ain't
Um,
kidding.
yeah, he got bailed out pretty good. And like I said, the Chiefs look strong. 20, they're now 5-3. I know people think that the Broncos might give them a run in the AFC West. I think the Chiefs they've come around after those first two losses. They're 5-1 and three touchdowns, two picks last night. Marcus Mariota's been playing because Jaden Daniels is hurt. Kelsey had almost 100 yards. Rashee Rice had 93 on nine catch. He's spreading the ball around and they look. And and I meant to mention Pacheco and Hunt combined for almost 100 yards too. So they're balanced again, and they have Patrick Mahomes.
Well, just mainly watching the highlights, I can tell you, but it seemed, the announcer said correctly, Kelsey's been much maligned this year as a guy who really, has he lost a step? Has he done that? And I'm one of those guys. And yesterday he looked the last few games, maybe it took him a few games to really get back in for whatever reason because they've been playing together forever. But Kelsey also had an intercept, Mahomes got picked the first two possessions, and the second one was another bounce off of Kelsey's hands. That's the second one this year. I don't recall ever seeing that in the past. I'm not taking anything away from them, but Washington doesn't have their quarterback. Mariota, everybody was saying, oh, he can do it, he can do it, he can do it. Well, yes and no, two picks for him. But McLaurin, this is I thought they could make a run this year. I really did. But now McLaurin played 54 yards, one touchdown, and he came out of the game. I don't know what the injury is, but he came out of the game again. So if these guys don't get healthy, I think they're in deep trouble. Plus, again, now you're going with a Spags defense that seems to be back on it, and you're going with Mahomes being Mahomes, and Kelsey to me coming back to Kelsey. But I'll say it again, one of the second pick was bounced off his hands. So I don't think that they're 100%, but I think they're better than anybody right now. I don't know who. I don't have a team that I'd pick over the Chiefs right now.
They've
Not at
been
the beginning of the
balling.
year, but not right. But right now, they're the best.
They look slick. Eagles and Giants, you call it what you want, revenge game or whatnot, because the Giants really manhandled them and smacked them in the mouth 17 days prior to Sunday. The Eagles looked like they did last year. They looked kind of right. I don't know what right exactly is because I think from year to year it bounces around. But they second play from scrimmage, they ran outside zone blocking, left tackle, boom. Saquon for 65, two running backs over 100 yards, first time since 2013. Jalen Hurts, four touchdowns, no picks again. He's 15 touchdowns versus one interception. Really keeps those turnovers down. And
Okay, but Joe, what do you think
yeah.
about the tush push call or
I
non-call?
was just going to say, well, it was a terrible call. I mean, just an awful call, but that's nothing to do with the tush push. You're the officials. You're in charge of making the right calls. That
They
was a terrible call. He
they
stripped him
can't
of the
seem to
ball.
see they can't seem to see either the offside or the false start. But when you have that close-up camera, which they don't have, when you have that close-up camera in the last few weeks, you've seen it. Today, the guys are saying I just saw like 5 minutes on football on Get Up, and they were saying they were saying that play is the death of the tush push because it looks like it was. How else can you play it? And the Giants actually played that great and got the ball. Was forward progress stopped?
Well, I agree with
Tush
Jeff
push, how far are
Saturday.
you
Why
trying to
why
go?
can't why cancel a play because the refs aren't calling it right? It was a terrible call,
Yeah, and did Dable challenge that? I think he did, didn't he? Or
but he wasn't allowed to.
uh,
So they had to burn a timeout, which was, yes, I know.
that wouldn't have changed the game, but it was early in the game. I think it was maybe 7-7. I'm not, it was a close
I think it
game.
was 7-7 at the time. Yeah, I think it was
So
7-7.
I,
It
I,
was
I
just a
think it's
bad call. Look, I mean,
I think it's
he
I
wasn't
think it's
down.
going, Joe. I
What's
think it's
that?
going.
Oh, I do too. No, it was only two votes short last year or three. I definitely think it's going.
And
But
is this the first game Barkley was Barkley? 14 rushes, 150 yards?
yeah, he looked like Saquon. He did come up. He came up a little lame after a 28-yard run to end the third quarter with a groin injury. He's got, a bye week, and he said he's okay. Um,
Okay.
but they ran 276. It looked like they did last year. And unfortunately, Cam Scatterby with the major ankle injury. I
Oh
mean, it's such
boy.
a shame. Not that he's on my fantasy team. I don't really care about that. It was really awful to see because I like watching him. He had a touchdown in that game. He just blew by the linebacker, and Dart hit him. Those two, the rookies, had a pretty good thing going. Um, but over the course of a long game, I thought the key play of the game was fourth quarter. It's only an 11-point game. Jalen Hurts takes an awful sack, minus 16 yards. So they face second down and 26, and Tank Bigsby runs for 29 yards on the next play, gets the first down. They score four plays later, and they score again. That's the ball game. If the Giants get the ball back, they're only down 11. They can make it a game.
Right.
But their running attack looked like they did last year. I don't
Well, I
know if
don't know
that's
what
going to continue.
I don't know what John Mara is going to do, but Dable and Schoen are playing for they're playing for their lives now. They're 2-6. They lost the running back almost has as big of an effect as Dart because it makes Dart a better player.
Of course.
Helps out the team. I mean, two rookies just changed the way it was for the Giants, but they lost that game to Denver. I don't think you could really think they were going to beat the Eagles again. And now they have the injury with the running back, and I think they're going to be in trouble. I don't know what their schedule is the rest of the way, but they're 2-6. And, maybe the owner says, well, you had injuries, you had this, but we got a quarterback now, we got a running back now, we have a good
They
defense.
have some life.
Our superstar wide receiver is out for the year, Neighbors. I mean, he's been gone. Imagine if he was around for this whole run. So I think it would be different. But um, I think they're playing to save their jobs now. And I don't know, without Neighbors, without the running back, with Dart alone. I mean, again, you look at Dart's numbers. We talk about this all the time, but when you look at Dart's numbers, for some reason, he has 14 completions for 193 yards. So that's almost 15 yards of completion. He doesn't have good his percentage is not good at all. But his yardage per completion, I mean, I haven't seen that anywhere, but his yardage per completion is very high.
It is. He had more yards than Jalen Hurts did. Jalen Hurts is very efficient, but yeah, you're right. You're definitely right about that. And he did lose neighbors. Now they lost Scatterbo, and there were plays in that game. Theo Johnson drops a ball at the 4, or it could have been. Things that you watch teams that sometimes the bad teams don't make the plays that the good teams do to win games. And I hear people talking about how the Giants need to learn to win. Okay, but they are down a couple guys, and I just think they have life. It was a
I
tough
do.
loss, the Denver loss after being up 19, but they look like they have life with Jackson Dart. And look, you won't see Scottabile till next year, but
Yeah.
neighbors. But if they had those two guys, I think we'd be talking. They wouldn't be 2-6.
Yep.
They wouldn't be 2-6. All right, Buffalo coming off a bye. They lost two games and they come off a bye. They ran the ball almost as well as the Eagles. Um, my boy Dalvin Cook, his brother, um, James Cook, just went wild. He had 216 yards, a couple touchdowns. They rushed for 245 as a team. And Carolina's been so up and down. And there was the Andy Dalton factor that you pointed out earlier in the weeks, and he hasn't played in a while, and it looked like it. And they crushed 40-9. Buffalo again. It's not a good team. Remember, Johnny pointed out, your son, they haven't beaten really anybody, but when they get rolling on all cylinders, they look pretty good.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry Johnny couldn't make it today. He had a meeting he had to go to, but
Okay.
to see what the Patriots are doing and May, people are saying, "Oh, I said May was playing like a top 10 quarterback. Now he's playing like a top 5 quarterback." I mean, he was 282 yards, 3 TDs, all in the third quarter against the Browns. I mean, that's why it's so impressive to me. Myles Garrett gets 5 sacks.
I know.
Myles Garrett. Um, and again, I always bring this up. So he's got 5 sacks in this game. He's got 112 lifetime, and I don't know, he's climbing the ladder. But never forget that the sack didn't become a stat until 1982. So you kind of missed the 60s and the 70s,
Sure.
where you can go back to Minnesota Vikings, the Purple People Eaters, and who was the other one from the Rams? I can't remember. They had such great nicknames back then. The Giants had a great front four, but those guys have no sacks. And, so again, I wish somebody could go back to see the guys from the Rams, uh, or the Vikings, or the Giants, and I'm sure there are others. Mean Joe Green, did he play after 1982? I don't think so, but
I
I
don't think
don't.
he played after 82.
Yeah, so you just have a lot of guys who are not considered in these numbers. I'm not knocking Myles Garrett at all. He's the dominant player. He's the dominant defensive player. I don't know how much money he's getting, but he should be the highest paid one. Despite that, with May and getting 5 sacks, they put up 32. 5 wins in a row. The Patriots are for real now.
They are for real.
I mean, we talked about it for a few weeks now, and May is a top 10, maybe higher quarterback. Johnny told me he was number 3 in the MVP betting right now. How about that?
That's amazing.
Uh, Mahomes is number 1. I can't remember. He told me. I think I'm not sure who's number 2. I should know.
Well, there was Baker Mayfield. He was in those conversations earlier, and I know you were upset at a few things where they weren't punching it in at the goal line, but
Oh,
he ended
please.
up taking care of the Saints 23 to 3 to bounce back from that awful performance they had in Detroit the week
Yeah.
before. Mayfield was okay. 50 to
No,
24,
only
152.
152 yards for Baker with no TDs. Not okay. I saw the two strangest, weirdest plays. The real good corner who was there when they won the Super Bowl, Winfield, 2 times in that game. And the first time was unbelievable. They hit a guy. There were 3 bucks around the guy that they hit. He fumbled, and he picks it up and runs like 60 yards for a touchdown. And then they call it back saying down by contact. But no, saying, I'm sorry, not down by contact, saying he was tackled by contact. He was picking up the ball and he wasn't touched. There was no whistle. They went over it with the expert who said, yeah, that should be a touchdown. They replayed just with the sound of the play. There was no whistle. And then later in the game, now this one was more like it. He picked off, I think he picked off a pass, but he was in the process of getting the interception and there was contact. He ran that one back 60 yards for a touchdown. And I've never seen a guy run 2 back for 60 yards for touchdowns, and neither one counted.
That's
But you're right,
unbelievable.
and you're right. They eventually took over the game, but it wasn't really because of Baker. I just think the Saints are so bad. It's the lowest they've scored all year. They're just not good. Didn't they bench Rattler, I think, in that game? They might have benched him.
Um, well, I mean, yeah, Riley Leonard played a little bit for oh, I'm on the wrong game. I apologize.
For the Saints, they benched Rattler and they took the guy they drafted. Remember, there was at the beginning of the year there was a contest, and they said, "Oh, we're taking Rattler. He has more experience." Not saying it's Rattler's fault. He's actually had his moments. I've seen the Saints play a few times. He's had his moments, but watching this guy, the game was over when he came in. Sean or something. I don't even know his name. I should know
I'll
his name.
tell you right now, it's Tyler Shaw.
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know if Rattler's hurt now, but we'll see who starts next week. But they're lost in space. They're lost.
Jets, Jets. Brees gets a hall pass from Brees Hall,
Break
and
up the Jets, baby.
they beat yeah, and they beat the Bengals there late in the game. That was well, they got on the board, and Justin Fields kind of, he played a lot well. He
No, he did
played,
play a lot better.
he played pretty well, and I know that the owner,
Well,
who
the
did,
owner killed him. You had to bench him, but then Tyrod Taylor was hurt, so you had to play him. But he went
Mhm.
21 for 32, 240 yards, 244 yards, one touchdown, no picks. And oh, by the way, do you know who has the longest of all the NFL quarterbacks right now? Do you know who has the longest streak of no interceptions? How many passes?
Justin
167 passes. You know who that is?
Fields?
Fields.
Wow.
So you got to look at him a little differently. I think the coach who everyone loves, Aaron Glenn. I mean, if you're a Jet fan, you love just the way he played and the way he was. He's cursing. We had blank in 500 yards of. He was out of his mind,
He was out of his
as he
mind.
should be, though. They definitely needed a win. Just an unfortunate note over that, of course, if you ever followed the Jets at all, you know who Nick Mangold is. A star center. He had kidney disease. He went public 2 or 3 weeks ago that he needed a kidney transplant. He didn't get one and he died this past Sunday. And he was a big time player, 7 Pro Bowls, 2 first team All Pro, played 2006 to 2016, which you'll know were the 2 times that they went to the AFC Championship game with Mark Sanchez
Mark Sanchez.
and um, and their big mouth coach, who I won't even name. No, Rex
Ryan?
Ryan is a great defensive coordinator. I don't know if he was a great coach. He's still trying to get a job, but
Yeah, I know, right?
on ESPN every week. But no, I give the Jets credit. And Brees Hall, who hadn't had a touchdown all year, ran for two and threw that pass. What a play that was, though, to throw the pass um, that proved to be the game-winning touchdown. Then they went for two, right? They went for two. Oh, I'm sorry. They went for two on the previous, which
On the
was
previous
criticized at
play,
the
which is what
time.
you're supposed to do, and it was called no catch, but then they replayed it again and showed that he was in, and then they were able to, I think, kick the extra
Oh,
point
right, right. That was over the goal line, right?
over the
Yeah.
goal line.
But then this Mason Taylor looks like he's about 6'7". He just jumped to get the winning touchdown. He just jumped over the corner
Just
and
jumped over him. That was pretty
yeah,
cool. The running back throwing that ball, like lobbing that in like a teardrop. That was pretty cool.
yes, it was.
One more game I wanted to touch on real quick because they're 7-1, the best team in the league right now. Daniel Jones, 3 touchdowns, 21 of 29, 272. I know it's the Titans and they're a mess. 38-14. They just keep rolling right along.
Yeah, they're not talking about Daniel Jones for MVP. Now it's Taylor, right? Jonathan Taylor, 3 TDs again. I think he's done it 3 or 4 times this year. And like, I
He
just
did
wanted to say,
three games. Like yes, it's the first time I think that's happened. He had 3 touchdowns the other day.
so he
Two on the
might
ground,
be,
one receiving.
he might, it's hard to say who's more valuable, but a running back, I can't remember the last time a running back won MVP. Whatever. I just wanted to mention briefly the Green Bay Packers against Rodgers,
Oh yes.
which was a game
I
for a
fell asleep. It was
while.
the day they were leading by 9. I woke up. They had 35 points.
Yeah, well, Love was unconscious, 29 for 37, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Everybody was lovey-dovey after the game, nice to each other, hugging each other, talking. But that has to burn a little. Rodgers won't say relax, but he wants to say relax.
Right.
But now they're 4-3. Green Bay's 5-1-1. We'll see where that tie comes out at the end of the year. But this tight end on Green Bay, he might be the best tight end in the league now.
Good player.
I mean, he's 7 receptions, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And you get him in the open field, he can make moves on you to beat you. He's not just what we view to be the big, strong tight end who lowers the Mike
True.
Ditka tight end to lower his head and just knock
This
people
this
down.
is true, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I thought Pittsburgh's secondary looked like they were sleeping on that. There was a one pop fly where a guy just kind of
Oh, yeah, yeah.
he watched it come down, and your Kraft caught it right behind him, and then went like another 35 yards, and there was
Yeah,
another
very
one that just kind
weird.
of went over a guy's head. I was like, what are they doing?
I think the guy couldn't. I guess the DB didn't see the ball because that was like, I'm throwing it up, go get it.
Right.
You
He
want
didn't. He
it.
like totally lost it.
And the Broncos put up 44 on the Cowboys. We know the Cowboys defense is horrific, but Dak had his worst game, 19 for 31, 188 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks. So you got to give Denver credit because they got a real good defense. So I still think they're in the mix. If you told me the Chiefs were playing Denver next week, I'd pick the Chiefs too. But I think Denver is legit. after that ridiculous start where they should have won two games and they lost.
Yeah.
They're back in action. And to put up 44 against Dallas, you're going, yeah, I don't know if you heard Jerry Jones just won't let it go. He goes, well, I don't think just one player could really help our defense get better. I think we need more than one. And I forget who was mocking him and said, yeah, they need five, and that's true. But you're not going to tell me that the trade was still one of the dumbest trades of all time because they have no defense. They
They've
have,
got no defense. They have no pass rush.
I think I said it here. I hope I did. I certainly told Johnny. I think every Cowboys game is an over game.
It really is. They can't stop anyone, and their offense looks pretty darn good.
I'll have to go back and look at that, Joe.
Still does. You're right. That's not a bad play, brother. All right, we got to wrap. A great stuff as usual. We're wrapping up week 8. Eagles are on a bye, and we'll be back Friday to preview week 9. You can catch Steve's stuff on his weekly face or daily Facebook forum page. Speaking of sports with Steve Kallas. Catch this podcast on YouTube and all the audio outlets. You can follow me on Instagram at Joe Staszak 4799 or on Twitter X at Joe Staszak 975. Great stuff, my friend. We'll see you. I'll be texting you during the World Series again today, and then we'll catch you on Friday. Appreciate you watching, folks. And
2:51 a.m. was the last text I got from Joe Staszak and from Johnny Callis. 2:51 a.m. Eastern.
Everyone was ghosting me. I'm like, come on, is anyone watching this? This is pretty cool. I just couldn't sleep. I went to bed 6 hours before that. I was like, I might as well just watch this. Good stuff, bro. I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
Always a pleasure,
You
Joe.
too, man. Thanks. I'll talk to you.